Okay, so rolling out the muscles. I'm using this, which was generously given to me by my Pilates instructor. Very nice. Because I lost mine, so. And I didn't bother to buy a new one yet. And then, yeah, anyway. And I'm going to be using that and this. And the first thing that I do, very ASMR, is I lay down. I am my own chiropractor. And I just twist. We might hear this, we might not. Never mind, there was nothing. Maybe on this side. Nope, I already cracked my back. Okay, so normally that would crack my back to some extent. That's the so-called safer method of cracking your back. If I don't do that, or if that doesn't work, I will usually do this. Yeah, that always works. And then the other side. I don't recommend this. I'm not telling you to do this. This is just what I do. And if you are going to try it, consult with a professional person and don't just say that Olivia told me to do this. I'm not telling you to do this. And be careful and do it slowly. Anyway. Okay, so that was a oddly unsatisfying and unfulfilling cracking day. Another thing that I do is I crack my hips. This does not always happen, so this could be very underwhelming as well. I just go in a very closed second split and lean forward, and that usually pops my hips. Okay, I felt something, but I didn't hear anything. Yep, I felt something, but didn't really hear anything. So that is usually what I do. Next, for the more interesting part, going to be rolling out for this. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear me if I talk into the microphone. It might just be me talking and me dubbing over later on. We'll see. So like I mentioned in my previous video of the warm-up, I like to go in sections. So I'll start at my hips and then move downwards. So starting on the outside side, going to be going with the glutes and just rolling that. I start with the foam roller and then I move on to the ball because I just realized I could move this closer. I start with the foam roller and then I move on to the ball because this is more targeted and I first want to get the pain flowing and then make it even more painful by using this. People find this painful. This is like my favorite part. I love doing it. I don't know why. I start off at my glute, like I mentioned, and just kind of roll around there, so releasing that. And then I'll slowly move around to my hamstrings and then the outer thigh muscle. I spend a lot of time on the outer thighs because that is the muscle that we want to relax the most and reduce the most because that's not ballet muscle. All the muscles you should roll out and relax, but yeah, so I just kind of move around and do what feels best. So I've never seen anyone else do this, but I find I need to do it. If not, then my technique sucks. I don't know if that's just like a mental thing and that I just have to do it for me to. It's like when you I don't know how many people do this. I don't know if it's relatable or not. You think I need to close that door before that piece of floating dust touches the ground. It's like you're like, I don't know, that was like a terrible explanation of it, but if you know what I mean, then you know what I mean. Anyways, so this is what I'm doing. I like to roll out the inner thigh muscles, and once again I start from the top to the bottom. This is a bit more delicate musculature, so you wouldn't want to provide as much weight on the foam roller, and you definitely are not going to use the ball here because that would just be way too painful. Rolling top to bottom, I like to roll the inner part and then the outer top thigh part. Like I mentioned before, we're trying to relax the muscles, especially the outer thigh. So yeah, I just kind of roll around, see what's painful, dig in even deeper if I have to, and go lighter if it's more painful. And then you're going to do the other side, and that's it. Now that you've kind of seen what I've done, I'm just going to go ahead and do this to the other side because you don't need to watch me doing this to both sides. Yeah. Okay, so before I move on to the tiny little ball, I played some music and it worked every time. I don't know what it is, but it just like relaxes my hips more. Yeah, anyways, before we move on to the ball, I'm just going to slowly roll out my back, kind of mid to lower back by just doing this. I honestly don't notice anything, but it's just like if I don't do it, then I don't have a good day. It's like, yeah, if you know, you know. If you don't, then I may have started some weird new habit. The ball. This is the best, most painful thing ever, and you just put it there, and yeah. It feels amazing, because if you feel like you have no turnout and you do this, you will have turnout. I can't guarantee that, but I've noticed that. My right hip is always tighter because it's stronger, even though as a standing leg, this is stronger. As a working leg, this is strong. I don't know. That actually makes a lot of sense, because if that's a standing leg, that's stronger, and this is a working leg, that's stronger. Logically. Duh. You can even just sit with it on a spot for a while and feel that lovely, beautiful, painful pressure sink on in there. Ow. Okay, I've had enough of that. I have rolled out everything. This is going to be my probably most helpful tip. If you're not doing this stretch, you need to be doing this stretch. I just lay down, take your leg, put it under you, and that's it. And you just sit here for like 30 seconds to a minute. It's releasing this tight area up here, so essentially it'll help you with your splits, it'll help you with your back. Yeah, I love it, and I do it every single day. If I don't do this stretch, I don't have a good day. Like everything that I'm doing now, if I don't do one of these things, I will have a bad day, ballet wise, not life wise. Yeah. And after I do this stretch, actually, I don't know if it'll happen. Of course not. Usually it cracks. And of course, it's not cracking now. And then I do it on the other side. If this is too much and too painful, you can extend your leg. This just makes it a bit more tight of a position. And if this is not enough, you can put your heel directly under your bottom and then do that. And it should pull a bit more. Maybe this one will crack. There we go, it cracked. See, so that's what usually happens. And I go ahead and do this on both sides twice, just because. Okay, we'll see if it cracks. Yep, there we go. And that, like, releasement just allows for, like, this flat thing to happen. If that doesn't happen, it just feels a bit tight. Yeah. Once you've done both, once or twice, depending on how many times you want to do it, you got to be careful with this one. This is doing both at once. If you don't have flexible hips, this might be painful. If you do have flexible hips, it'll still be painful. This one you definitely want to be careful with. I've been doing this since I was young because I thought it was weird and cool. I can put my feet on the outsides and stick my butt touching the floor. Don't attempt this because it's hard on your knees if you've never done this before, but if you can, there's like no difference. It's stretching a bit of something else, but like barely. So I don't know, I thought I would be cool and share that. Okay, so the next thing I do is all mobility. I think if you bring your joints to certain positions, then that would then manifest into being able to reach certain stretching positions. You'll know what I mean in a second. So, for example, if I want to right now stretch my leg up like this, which of course it's not going to go there right now because I'm not stretched, I will start by just bringing my knee to my chest, holding that for a bit. I don't want my hips twisted upwards like this. I just want them straight and flat. So, like this, and I just hold it near my chest. And then I do the same thing with the other one. Just hold it there for a bit. I just realized that I didn't need to hold a stick this whole time. I could have just pinned it onto my thing. Anyways, and then you're going to bring both to your chest. And just... I like to press them into my chest so that I'm getting them as close, like the anatomical part of the skeleton, as close as possible. So that later on, yeah, like now it's even closer. So I'm just pressing it towards my chest. You don't want it to be painful. You don't want to force anything. You're just pulling and you should be relaxing. You shouldn't be tensing anything. That was a huge game changer for me, was to learn how to mentally signal to my muscles to just relax and not be tight, because I didn't notice it until I noticed it. I was walking around all day with like my glutes contracted, and that wasn't helping my technique. If anything, it made it worse, and then it made my flexibility worse because it was just, everything was tight. So now I just signal in my brain to my muscle to relax, and that has been a huge game changer. Okay, so now that we've done that, I'm just gonna do these circles. I like to do a bit of mobility and movement just to let my body have that range of motion before we go into actually stretching it, because I think in the long term I'm doing myself a favor instead of just stretching without having that joint mobility, like the hip in the hip socket. It's already got this going on, so then if we stretch it and hold it in any of those positions, it'll be fine. And I do it to the other side. I like to be stable while I'm doing this. You can like move around, I guess, like that, but I like to have both hips pressing and not mobile, because then it's just training them to stay in place. But I'm doing this once again without like tightening anything excessively. So the next mobility thingy that we're doing, my face is cut off, but you don't need to see my face, is going back and front. This, once again, be very relaxed on, and you don't want to hold your knee over your toes for a very long time. And you don't want this gluteus area to be tight. It can be painful if it's tight. You just want to relax absolutely everything. We're just going to go front and back a couple times. And if you can't go to this range of motion, don't worry, you'll get there. This came after a very long amount of time before I was kind of like here because of how tight this was. And this is why we did that stretch laying down before, like sitting on our feet, because it released this for us to now be able to do this. So everything kind of has like a logical order. So once you've done that, you can do it to the side as well. This one's a bit harder on the hips, especially right here. So if you can't go full range of motion, don't. Just try to kind of feel it around. You can even move a bit. People, I used to be, I don't really get embarrassed anymore. People used to hate doing the hip circles like in PE or whatever. Now that's like all I do. If I'm in a ballet class and you see me in a ballet class, whenever I have a moment, I'm doing hip circles. Because I just constantly want to keep my body in that mobility state and not feeling tight, because I want to be able to recover a lot faster, which then enables me to stretch a lot more. So yeah. And then we do the other side. Now my glute is a bit tight because I overworked it on this side, so going front isn't happening quite as much on my left side. Then again, we all have a bad side and a good side. I don't fully believe in that. Obviously, it's reality hits, and that is true, but you want to train everything like they're equals, because then it balances out your body for the long term, which is a lot better. And then essentially you can do stuff to both sides, which is obviously better as well. Oh, yeah, I'm feeling it. Okay. So now, before we stretch, we have two last actually, mobility things. First one is just these. These I do religiously. I've never seen anyone else do these, but I've been doing them because my hips got really tight because of bad recovery and bad joint inflammation. And they would crack every single time I did this, and it just felt amazing. And it really just loosened them up, so I love to do those. That, and then the last one is for the back. People laugh at this. I was teaching a class with like 13-year-olds, and they were all laughing and couldn't do this seriously. But okay, whatever. You're gonna arch your back and then do the opposite, and this is just warming up the back. And then I go into like a stretch like this, and then fully back. I just realized that my vest is making the most annoying amount of noise possible, and that you probably can't hear a word I'm saying. So that is my foam rolling and mobility routine. It's very basic, very simple. It takes like 10-ish minutes tops, 15 minutes tops. I like to combine everything so that it just takes like at the most an hour. It really depends though, of course. So yeah, so you do this after the warm-up. I already posted the warm-up. This is the rollout plus mobility. And then after this, I do my actual stretching. So go check that out because that's hopefully probably already out.